This is Detroit's Morning Answer with John Anthony on FM 92.7 and AM 1400. The Answer.
Good morning, Detroit. Detroit's Morning Answer with John Anthony. If you missed that first hour, head over to theanswerdetroit.com. That's theanswerdetroit.com. Download the podcast. You can listen to the show no matter where you are. I don't know if you heard, but Europe is now proposing what leaders call a drone wall to defend against Russian incursions. What's the plan? The plan was unveiled at a summit in Copenhagen. It would link radar systems, sensors, and anti-drone weapons across multiple countries. Uh-oh. What's the name of that? Skylink or Skynet from Skynet from the Terminator. It comes after repeated airspace violations in Denmark and Poland. And as you guys know, there's been a tense year of hybrid warfare along NATO's borders. So I'd have to get my friend Bill Walton. He's been called America's common sense CEO for a reason. He built a respected career bridging business, economics, and conservative policy. He is led on the boards of the Heritage Foundation, the American Enterprise Institute, the Media Research Center, and the American Conservative Union, CPAC. I didn't know he was with CPAC. I gotta talk to him about that. As president of the Council for National Policy and a member of President Trump's 2016 transition team, Bill has been at the crossroads of business leadership and national strategy. Today, as host of the Bill Walton Show, he offers a rare combination of economic insight, moral clarity, and global perspective. Bill, welcome back to Detroit's Morning Answer.
Great to be back, and I think I want to make a copy of that introduction. That was pretty, who is that guy?
Hey, he's one heck of a guy. That's who he is. But yeah. Bill, European leaders are discussing what they call a drone wall. When I heard it, I'm like, what the heck is a drone wall? But they want to build it to repel Russian aircraft and unmanned incursions. What does this reveal about the state of European security confidence right now?
Well, I don't think it's a good time to plan your trip to Europe. Cancel those vacation plans for a little bit. What's happened is that Trump is, we started out funding the war of Ukraine, defending itself against Russia, and to the tune of $150 billion, $200 billion, we really don't know. And what Donald Trump has done is he shifted the burden to the EU, and specifically, not NATO, but the EU, and they're beginning to pay for the defense of Ukraine, and it's got them a lot more drawn into this, what's at stake. And Putin has been provocative. I mean, I don't know what his agenda is, but he's been sending, airplanes over Poland. He's been sending drones into, different Baltic countries. And it's putting Europe in a state of real alarm, and it's fascinating to maybe that's the wrong word, but here's some of the headlines. He says, and they're also getting delusional. I think Estonia has a headline here: Estonia will single-handedly sink the entire Baltic fleet of Russia. That's coming from an Estonian MP.
Okay.
French Army General rings alarms in a new interview saying the French army must be ready for high-intensity conflict tonight. And then, I could go on, but they're really trying to figure out how they can actually defend themselves if this thing heats up. And, recollect, Europe's been almost nothing on its own defense for the last 30, 40, 50 years. They depended on the United States and NATO, and now that Trump has removed that protection, and they're now waking up to realize that they really do not have standing armies that are even slightly effective. They're under their defense industries are meager, and they're all trying to figure out how to defend themselves in case it does heat up.
Yeah,
and so it's not good.
Yeah.
And the problem I have with it a bit is none of the European leaders seem to have any real military background or intelligence backgrounds. They're fairly typical EU common market, so politicians,
Yeah.
and they don't really. I don't think they're playing with fire. Not really know exactly what they're doing.
Now, Bill, this summit in Copenhagen was held just days after Russian drones breached Danish and Polish airspace. But do you see this
Yeah.
as Europe's wake-up call, or is this just another symbolic overreaction that lacks real defense substance?
Well, at the same time, Putin yesterday sent an offer to Donald Trump that we ought to renegotiate our nuclear arrangements to put limits on expansion nuclear capabilities. So, Putin is offering an olive branch with one hand and sending drones into European countries with the other. And I don't think Putin wants to escalate this. I don't see this as a wake-up call that if Putin has anything to do about it, that he's going to be, escalating the war in a dramatic way in Europe. But on the other hand, I think he may be trying to put enough fear in them to say, look, maybe we ought to wrap up our defense of Ukraine and negotiate an outcome and move on peacefully, which I think would be a very smart thing to do.
I agree. Bill Walton, you often say, I've heard you on a couple of your podcasts say, words shape markets. What message is Europe sending to Moscow, to Washington, D.C. even, and even to its own citizens through this announcement of this drone wall?
Well, I think they're sending the message that they're trying to send a signal that they're now prepared to be warlike and they're ready to stand up to Russia and they're ready to do what's necessary. There are a lot of us that don't believe that these are mainly words that don't have much behind them, and they're really behind in drone technology. Russia and Ukraine, for that matter, have far more developed drone capabilities, so they're going to have to step up to that. I don't know. I think this is. I think we're in the midst of a real drift here, and a lot of moving parts, and I don't see a theme to this music right now.
Wait, I'm still in that. I just want you to know right now, Bill Walton, I am still in that. I don't hear a theme to this music. That is now becoming part of my lexicon now. I'm just letting you know. I'll give you, writers credit, but I am now still in that. But, Bill, you've warned about technological overreach in government. Could this system evolve into a surveillance infrastructure targeting not just enemies, but citizens?
Well, not directly. I don't know if the drones per se would be a part of the surveillance state, but there's an awful lot of movements in the finance world to a digital currency, which would really be, in effect, the government's insight into how we're spending our money and how we make our money, and that would dramatically reduce our privacy. So I do think that is a possibility, and of course the real way the surveillance state works is you take a look at China. They've got millions of cameras on every street corner, actually more than that, in every major city in China. And it's almost impossible to move in the big cities without being videoed. And they've got facial recognition software that they don't really need to be watching these cameras all the time. Their artificial intelligence facial recognition systems can tell them instantly who's doing what where. And I know that the Davos crowd has been very interested in this, and they've talked about a social credit card that everybody would have as a way to, even things like they would have carbon capture as part of the metrics that they'd be measuring. So the drones would be a piece of that, but not directly what they're up to. I think if you look at what they're talking about in the finance circles, I think that's even more ominous, getting control of our money.
Yeah, Bill, what lessons should America draw from Europe's predicament? Are we better prepared? You saw Ukraine do a drone attack on Russia. Are we better prepared for drone incursions and cyber intrusions, or are we just more complacent?
Well, I don't think we're complacent now. I know there's a lot of talk about our own. I can't remember the name of the Israeli, the dome. Is it the Iron Dome
The Iron
that
Dome,
protects Israel? Well, Israel, is a tiny, tiny country compared to the United States. So erecting something like that here would be. You couldn't do that directly, but there are other technologies, laser technologies, things like that. And I do know that they're working on credible defenses of the United States that would make it impossible for a missile to penetrate our airspace. And that technology does exist. And I know that the Trump Defense Department is working on that. And along with all the other intelligence services, I think there is a real appetite to do that. And of course, if you could credibly put up a system that would protect you from an incoming nuclear missile, boy, would that be a game changer.
Yeah. Now, I want to pivot to what we see happening in Portland and Chicago. President Trump is sending the National Guard to Portland, but that has been stopped by a judge again. And I don't know if you saw what happened in Chicago, where the police had received an order to stand down and not assist ICE and Homeland Security, who were being attacked. So much so that they had to shoot this lady who boxed them in and ran one of them off the road. Bill, what is happening to our society when, none of this, they don't have to do this out on the streets if these states and cities just cooperated with the federal government. Do they need this chaos in order to, why would the Democrats not say, hey, let's figure this out together? Why? What do they get out of this, Bill?
Well, the Democrat Party's become a party of true believers, and the cultural Marxists have really taken control. They're going to elect a literal Marxist in New York as the mayor. And I worry more about what Trump is calling our enemy within than I do external enemies, or at least in a hot war. We have the cultural Marxists that have penetrated all the major institutions, the universities we know about, K-12, major corporations, and DEI is part of that. And Trump has ordered DEI out of the federal government after Joe Biden brought it in as a wholly government initiative. But the risks of some sort of civil war, some sort of people erecting barriers around in the country, and it's a weird looking map because most of America is red. If you look at it just county by county by county, yet we've got some significant blue spots in there, and those blue spots increasingly are saying we're not going to be part of the United States, the federal government, and if that gets even more real, again, that's something else that we need to nip in the bud. Trump is talking about spending in National Guard to some of these places. I don't know how that's going to play out.
Yeah.
I don't think we want to see National Guard shooting at people in Portland. I'm old enough to remember Kent State, and when we saw the National Guard shoot down those 4 students at Kent State, that was something that was a defining moment.
Yeah. From what I'm understanding, a lot of the National Guards are not equipped with a weapon. That's dangerous in and of itself, especially when you look at Portland. Portland has hired agitators to go in there and disrupt that city. And, they said, oh, this is just a block. No, we have reporters who reported that this is more than just one block in Portland. These Antifa is there, and they have run Portland, certain cities, for quite some time. Why do you? What's the reasoning behind the judge trying to stop this?
Well, the judge is on the wrong side. They're against the freedom and all the American exceptionalism that we hold dear. But another worrying thing is we let by the Biden administration open the borders and let in 20 million people into the United States, and we don't know who those people are.
Yeah.
We do know that there are a significant number of young Chinese males, 300,000-400,000 by some estimates, that have come in. We don't know who they are or where they are. And then we still have to remember that Islam, the radical Islamists, are still interested in infiltrating our country, and they're taking over cities. What is it, Dearborn, Michigan? And so we've got a lot of people inside this country that are not, that would like to see our system destroyed. So I didn't hear that the National Guard would go in unarmed. I mean, I think I can see why you'd want to do that for symbolic purposes, saying we don't intend any hot war, but you're also making them sitting ducks.
Yes, so true. Bill Walton, where can people find your podcast?
We're at the BillWaltonShow.com. We're on Substack, YouTube, Rumble. Most of the major, almost all the major audio-only platforms, and I'm on X at WM Bill Walton, and pretty easy to find. So, and
I'm going to have to reach out to you because about CPAC. That's something I want to talk to you about. So I'm definitely going to call you about that if that's okay with you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you'd be great. You'd be great there. It's still a very, very powerful arena.
It really is. Bill Walton, America's Common Sense CEO, host of the Bill Walton Show. Thanks so much for joining us today on Detroit's Morning Answer.
Great talking with you. Great questions.
Right. Love you, brother.
And we got a lot to figure out.
Yes, we do. Have a good day, brother.
Okay, great. Take care.
All right. Detroit's Morning Answer. We'll be right back.
Hype me up. I hype me up. I got 99 problems, but I got 100 reasons. If it rains, sleet, or snow, I'ma ball air seas, cause I gotta hype me up.
Gotta hype me up this morning. Welcome back to Detroit's Morning Answer with John Anthony. I had to get hyped up. Thank you, Paul. I really appreciate that. Now I'm up. I'm hyped right now, and I'm on my second cup of coffee as well. But, Paul, I never knew this about the Pentagon. I didn't realize that you didn't have to wear any identification stating who you are. You can just walk freely if you were part of the media at the Pentagon. Well, what is he called now? The Defense of War Secretary, Pete Hegseth, is making changes to that.
Our own civilians who can never be party to leaking. We're setting clear rules at the Pentagon. We're not playing games. We're not allowing everybody to roam around the building. That was the policy before, Peter. If you were a Pentagon reporter, you could just walk around the building. No badge, no escort, no nothing. Walk into offices, talk to anybody. Who knows where there's classified information. We're making the rules more like you might say the White House. Can you roam the White House wherever you want?
Typically not without getting a Secret Service guy up in my grill.
So we're just normalizing it. Yes, you can be in the press area, briefing room, but if you want to move around the building, you're going to have a badge. It's going to be clear. You're going to be escorted when you do so, and we have expectation that you're not soliciting classified or sensitive information. I think the American people see things like that as absolute common sense. The Pentagon Press Corps can squeal all they want. We're taking these things seriously. They can report. They just need to make sure they're following rules.
Well, maybe a lot of the leaking came from a lot of the reporters who didn't have anybody hand them stuff. They could just easily go into an office and see. You never know what's classified out, and just take pictures and have this, and they're their own source. Why hasn't that been something that's been done at the Pentagon? When you think about, excuse me, leaking and being able to access anybody you want, that's a thing in America at the Pentagon. Oh my God, I just don't get it. I really don't. And did you hear Pritzker say that Trump has dementia?
It appears that Donald Trump not only has dementia set in, but he's copying tactics of Vladimir Putin, sending troops into cities, thinking that that's some sort of proving ground for war, or that indeed there's some sort of internal war going on in the United States, is just, frankly, inane. And I'm concerned for his health. The idea that you're going to go suggest that you're going to arrest people, or that people don't deserve to be U.S. citizens when they are, just because they oppose the President of the United States. I mean, there is something genuinely wrong with this man, and the 25th Amendment ought to be invoked.
Wow. Think about that. Not once did I hear him say that about Joe Biden, who it was clear for the entire world and even the alien ships that are in our waters. Did you hear that, Paul? I didn't send you the audio, but Representative Tim Burchett was being interviewed, and they were talking about there are like 6 different maybe alien ships that are in some of the deepest parts of our waters. Did you hear that? Dude, it is becoming. I believe it. It is becoming. The aliens are among us. We know J.B. Pritzker's one of them. Maybe that's why he got rich. He used a lot of it. His family used a lot of their alien power. I don't know. I'm just joking, guys. Don't take me, serious on this. But I did love Rubio. On the show Saturday, I don't know if you saw in the feed, Paul. Somebody made a comment, America needs to stop attacking South American countries. And what he was talking about was he was talking about the ships that were blowing up, the Coast Guard's blowing up, and the Department of War. They're blowing up ships who are coming to deliver drugs into our country. Well, Rubio talked about it.
Yeah, I can tell you this. The Department of Defense doesn't take this lightly. There are many boats running through that region, some of which we suspect may have drugs on them, and they don't take shots at them because they need to know with 100% certainty. I can't tell you the tactics or how it comes about in terms of how we gather the intelligence, but suffice it to say the Department of War has tremendous confidence in the way they are gathering information. They know who's on those boats. They know what those boats are doing. And I would ask people for some common sense, okay? What is a boat doing 15 miles into international waters with 450 engines on the back of it, no fishing rods, clear markings of drugs on those boats? We know who these boats are. We've known who these boats are for a very long time. In the past, there's been efforts to interdict them. Now the effort is to stop them. They are headed towards the United States through a logistics chain they've created in the Caribbean, and that needs to stop. For the first time in our history, the U.S. military is operating in our region, in our hemisphere, against these traffickers of poison who are ultimately winding up in our streets, contributing to crime in our streets, not to mention the death of Americans. So they have the highest confidence in this because of the work that goes into this, because of the tremendous amount of caution they're taking in deciding who to strike and who not to strike. And by the way, it's already had a dramatic impact. The number of boats coming out running drugs has dramatically decreased in the last few weeks. That alone has already had an impact. There are drugs that are not in the streets of the United States right now because of what President Trump and his administration is doing.
This is how you deter crime. When they're doing it, you take action. We've taken action. You heard what he said. They've already changed their behavior. That's just simply how it's done. That is exactly how you do it. Did you hear Kevin Lyons, the acting director of ICE, on with Fox News? I'm starting, and I'm going to play all 4 minutes of this because this was eye-opening.
Well, from Portland to Chicago, ICE just released new drone footage. Look at this. This depicts an agitator trying to obstruct ICE operations last week. You see the individual launch a tear gas canister in the direction of federal agents. And in another video, a separate agitator violently grabs the mask off of an ICE officer. ICE, in fact, says that the individual in question actually pulled the hair out of his beard. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons with me now. Director Lyons, I'm looking at this and I hear from Chicago officials that you all are militarizing the city. But based on this new footage that just came out today, it seems like you're just defending federal agents.
Yeah, Kaylee, it's bad. And the bad thing is we've asked for help. We've asked for help from the Broadview Police Department. We've asked for help from the Illinois State Police, and no one's come to our aid, right? So we have to take it upon ourselves to make sure our men and women are safe and to make sure we can still do our mission. And just that video alone, you see it. Those people aren't exercising their First Amendment. They are out there, like you said, throwing tear gas grenades. They're coming out there with shields, bats, gas masks. They're ready to do battle. And it's really, they're impeding law enforcement and they're threatening ICE agents, and it has to stop.
I just spoke with Nick Storter, and that's another ICE facility out there in Portland. And it was described that there's a bubble around the ICE facility. And there's 2 liaison officers on either side, and the police don't go in the bubble. Explain to our viewers what ICE...
The police don't go into the bubble. listen. I know. Listen, I am. When I make these type of statements, I'm not talking about the grunts, the men and women out there on the ground, because I know what they want to do. I'm sure they want to go in there and break it up, but they can't. The leaderships of some of these police departments need to be removed immediately. I know in Illinois they have the Trust Act, so you can't violate that. Man, I'm sorry. I'd be the test case. I couldn't be a cop today. I don't know if the politics, and that's one of the reasons why I think I was at a sheriff's office instead of a city, because there's just too many layers in cities. Whereas you have the one layer, the sheriff. The sheriff gets to dictate. That's why I love the office of the sheriff, because they're duly elected too. And, in Illinois, a couple of sheriff's departments did try to still help ICE, and then they got slapped on the hand by Kwame Raoul, who's the attorney general there. But, I mean, they won't go inside the bubble. So you let people that are within the bubble get viciously attacked. It just breaks my heart. Give me a call, 800-923-9385. That's 800-923-9385. What's your take on all of this? How do you see this? How do you view this? And why do we continue to allow it to happen?
Is and is not allowed to do. It's not their job to go and break up fisticuffs or assaults or brawls. What can they legally do inside that bubble without the help of police?
What we're doing right now, Kaylee, is protecting that building, right? So you've heard them talk about we're under siege over 100 days, right? I was there when they had the assaults and the siege of the building back in 2022 when we totally lost that building to Antifa. So we can't even go do our mission. All they're doing right now is protecting that perimeter, protecting the building, protecting the people inside, just so people don't take it over like they did in the past. ICE officers and agents have gone out and helped actually protesters that have been assaulted by their own protesters, right? We've rendered medical aid to those people. We've helped people that were getting attacked by these crazy leftists that come out there every night. But we can't even go out and do our law enforcement mission because we have to hold that building. And the field office director is right. There is a bubble around it. We started to see Portland police show up, and unfortunately, Nick was a victim of that. But it wasn't until President Trump actually showed the strength to say, hey, we're going to take back and protect our ICE agents. We're going to send a National Guard. Did all of a sudden we start seeing local support. But that's what we needed all along. It was local support to make sure we can do our law enforcement mission. And we're just not getting it.
Director Lyons, I do want to ask you about this story. We reported it first here last week. And this is the Iowa superintendent of Iowa's district, the largest school district in Iowa, was found to be in the country illegally with a final removal notice. And not just a criminal record. We learned yesterday, based on DHS documents, he had a long criminal record. Take a look at this. You see all of these degrees, charges here, third degree unauthorized use of a vehicle, reckless driving. The list goes on. How does a guy with all these charges become the head of Iowa's biggest school district?
And that's the scary part, right, is the fact that you see that. He came in the country in 1994, gets arrested for narcotics, leaves, comes back. He was denied a green card 4 times and then ordered lawfully deported and removed by a judge. Yet he still led one of the largest school districts in the country. He was carrying a loaded firearm. He fled from police. So is this the person you want running a school district, being around your children?
That's insane. Walter. What's up, brother? Walter?
Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready.
What's up, my brother?
T.D. Jake the Snake.
Yeah, T.D. Jake the Snake.
Yeah, that's when he endorsed Obama the first. I believe he endorsed Obama the second time. It shows that he's a black racist. I feel, right now we got more black racists than so-called white racists. I'll give you an illustration of that one day on one of your shows.
Okay.
Example, a perfect up-to-date example. But look, authority, according to Romans 13, about God has ordained government, law enforcement, police, the military for the punishment of law-breaking evildoers. But we got to go a little step further. I'm gonna give you a hint. Who was the one that said if I had a son, he looked like Trayvon?
Oh, I know his name. His chef who died in 4 feet of water. That guy.
Yeah, remember Zimmerman? They wanted him, the Latino with the Trayvon Martin scenario. The media and the Democrats wanted us to think that it was a white guy that killed Trayvon Martin in self-defense. So I said self-defense. Don't shout me down on that one, black people. Look, this the Obama connection with all these paid rebels across this country. They're going against ICE and our people and I love to see them try to rise up against the National Guard. This is Obama's prophecy, self-proclaimed prophecy that has come into fruition before he even got in office. He was out there on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
And he had people shouting and with glee and tears in their eyes because of his so-called good orator speeches. He said this in his speech, and it went over people's heads. He said, not only do we need a military, we need a civilian army.
They got it.
It has come to pass.
They got it.
Citizenry. Paid by, and they have got to catch these people that's paying them. Maybe I throw out George Soros and some others. But Barack Hussein, Osama, Obama, Rashid, Sam Obama is a ring in Illinois.
Yes.
He was the tyrant, the dictator. These Democrats across the country, blue state Democrats, were the dictators and still are the dictators from the past, present, and future when they shut down everything during COVID-19. Remember Joe Biden? Let me pivot over to Joe Biden. You remember he was addressing the country?
Yep.
And he said he was tired of us that didn't wear no mask and didn't get the shot. He said, my patience is running out with you Americans.
I remember.
You remember he addressed the country?
Yeah.
When he had, that red pits of hell background behind him and the Marines standing behind him? Looked like he was speaking from the chambers of hell. The only thing that was missing was the fire. Huh?
I do.
He's the dictator. Obama's the dictator. The Democrats are the dictator. All this chaos going on and with the government being shut down because they want voters to replace the Negroes that turned away from them, to replace many people that turned away from their trifling garbage behind Democrats.
Yep.
Republicans need to quit beating around the bush and say these people, the reason they shut down the government because we don't want to give their civilian army no money.
That's it.
We're going to send them the hell out of this country until we get, 6 to 8 million of them and counting. Get them, every last one of them out of here. Get the hell out of here. If you ain't going to vote for, I tell you what, if all those people that was here, the illegal intruders, if they would all vote Republican, guess what? We'd have had no problem in the past with Mayorkas and all the rest of them. Kamala Harris, the border's ours.
Yeah.
There would have been the biggest mass deportation overnight.
That's true.
If they voted Republican. But most of them come over here, they vote Democrat because they give them food stamps, bridge cards, WIC, food cards, and everything else. And we can't even get it. If we were to apply, if we fell on hard times, we couldn't get it. No, we go through all the red tape. You sit before a caseworker at the welfare department, scrutinizing you, talking about you make too much money. You over the threshold. You don't qualify for this free food stamps, this government give outs and handouts. You don't deserve it. Get the hell out of my office.
All right,
you
Walter,
make too much money.
I got to go to break, man. Thank you for calling in, man. I appreciate it.
Don't shut me down, shout me down, turn me down, and tone me down. For the voice of opposition has arisen again.
Detroit's Morning Answer. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Detroit's Morning Answer. Michigan has a budget. It looks like the frameworks of a budget has been agreed to. Join us tomorrow. We talk with State Representative Jamie Thompson about what's in it. What does it mean for you, Michiganders? And will it be signed and when? Paul, thank you. Riley, thank you. I want to thank my guests. Guys, we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. David W., we out.